Greetings, Commanders! Welcome to a special Fireside chat video. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but I've been working on a lot of new projects, and I have come to the realization that I really treat Walker Commanders unfairly. I mean, not a fair game. It's not meant to be a fair game, but I really don't cover the Walker meta. And it's because I don't main walkers, it's because I don't secondary walkers, and frankly, walkers are the least represented commanders in the game. However, that's not to say that walkers aren't a very good class, and with all these current meta shifts, that they don't deserve a revisit, because they do. They're actually very good, and I've got a new ARCs episode coming up. We've got all this new legendary gear in the 3rd anniversary event. And as I'm doing these new commander cards, the commander card for Season 7 series, I'm starting to notice that I really need to have a complete grasp of not just the infantry and airship meta, I need to have the walker meta too, because when it comes to talking about walker commanders, you have to really know crit wither. You have to know what this is. Obviously, it's a very important stat. It was implemented back when, about a year ago. And it's a defense stat. We know crit wither is a defense stance. The problem is we haven't totally quantified it. We've quantified penetration. We've quantified total damage reduction, the airship and infantry ones. But we don't exactly know what crit wither does. Now, to my best assessment, and I agree with Krylar on this from the Theory Crafters think tank, he says that crit wither not only takes away their natural chance to crit, which I'm confident in, but also their total crit damage. So there's two types of crit on your weapons. There is the chance to crit, which is usually what's the best one? Skywalker? No. Skywalker provides the crit damage. So if you crit, you get bonus attack. That is crit damage. But then the actual crit chance, where's my crit chance? I think it's probably on some of my gear. Well, let's see. Crit chance. There we go. Total crit right there. Right there. So we're going to be talking about the Walker class, crit wither, the meta, the 5 main commanders in the Walker class, really the 3 main commanders, but there's some honorable mentions. And we're just going to dive into it. So today's a Walker video, and I think it's probably going to be one of the more enlightening videos on this channel as far as like super late game Walker is concerned, and I guess you can kind of say early game too. But it's kind of a deep dive because once I establish this, I'll be able to continue going down the commander cards meta and explaining those videos better because I really need to kind of lay this out there. So let's jump into that. In Season 7, there's 13 commanders I'm calling from the... there's 13 commanders total. Technically, there's 12. Rogers gets 2 spots. But of that, only 3 of them are represented by Walker commanders. The rest are infantry and airships. And the reason is because, well, frankly, there's really only 3 playstyles right now, right? There's really the defense builds like Rogers and Elf. There's the super offensive builds like Vega, Gilly, Pictor, they kind of fall into that category, right? Polarized glass cannon builds, which is not necessarily true. But and then of course there's Nekajiro, which we're gonna talk about him too. And then there's the balance build, commanders that kind of give and take. Like I wouldn't say Galileo is a good example of that, but let's say Reinhardt. Reinhardt is more defensive because he does a lot of thorns damage. And he mostly does spell damage, but he does do some melee damage, and he does need to have a little bit of offense. So there's this really missing middle, the real missing middle. There's the heavy defense Elf and Rogers, and then there's the super glass cannon Nekajiro Vega, and even Vega doesn't even need to be glass cannon. But you see where I'm going. One is big offensive combat damage. The other one is big defensive defense to rely on tear space, small guaranteed hit spills, thorns, spell damage. And that middle is really missing because it was kind of always just like, well, there's no point in building a balance commander because Rogers will always just stomp you. Well, that was the case for a long time, but now Vega is the real problem. Vega is the commander that everyone is maining. And the thing about Vega is his breakdown is so amazing that he ignores all defense. So it kind of made us stop and say, all right, so if defense doesn't matter anymore, how do we defend ourselves? Well, HP. HP is the replacement. Vega's breakdown does not ignore HP. But there's also the invincible pants. So, well, not invincible. I keep saying invincible. It's fearless. The fearless pants. They have damage reduction built straight into them and HP, something Vega can't ignore. And then when it comes to chest piece, we have this new Shadow. It's got resistance weakened plus HP and defense. You still want some defense. Breakdown doesn't trigger every time. So you still get some value out of it. But these are the new items, or at least they were until this 3rd anniversary event. Are you with me, guys? Are you with me? Okay. You guys ready to deep dive into what's going on in the Walker class? Because you're kind of looking at it. This was it until the 3rd anniversary event came around. And it made us all stop and realize that we're not playing the middle-of-the-road Walker commanders. You know what I didn't put out here that I should have? Oh, shoot. I should have put Medusa out there. She's an Awakened commander. Never sleep. Kind of like, she's the 3rd Awakened. There's Vega. He's a B-class commander. He permanently will be awakened. Nekajiro, who's a D-class commander for the infantry class that can always be awakened. And then there's Medusa for the Walker class, who's B, who can always be awakened. I haven't fully covered that. Like I said, I need to get through this first, then we'll go down that meta. I almost feel like I need to go through this for myself, but also with other people. So when I start talking about that stuff, I can handle it in this long fireside chat video, kind of in the long form, kind of talk about it and kind of walk you through it, how I think about it and how I've seen it. That way, when we tackle it in the shorter videos, it doesn't turn into a 12-minute rant about, what Galileo does. So let's talk about the new item. Okay, with consideration of these things, all right, we're assuming that everyone's running Titans, everyone's running Shadow, and everyone's running Fearless. We're just assuming that. And the reason is because Fearless, the damage reduction here, actually works against Tear Space. And one of the biggest concerns for everyone, especially Tier 12 players, is that Tear Space damage. And this is one of the purest ways to just ignore it straight up. So You Lost or Soyuloy from TNB actually was releasing some videos showing exactly how it scales, and basically it's kind of straight up. If it says damage reduction 20%, if you were going to get hit for 10 million by the Tear Space, you can just take 20% off. It works just like that. Very easy and very good because this is a long video. I'll show you. In Season 6 Finals, we started running into these realizations that the defense meta is coming. And the defense meta had been coming for a long time. We started seeing the Armor of the Tyrant. We started seeing the Valkyrie. Troops started lasting a lot longer. The Glass Cannon, one slot bust meta was falling off a little bit because marching full troops was starting to really show its value. So when we started seeing replays like this with Elf, we realized, I remember Reinhardt was a counter to Rogers, and Elf and him, we weren't really sure what was going to happen. But we realized both of them have a heal, right? So they're going to be bouncing off each other back and forth. And the real damage is done from the Tear Space. So watch this. Here comes Elf with a bunch of triggers, but most importantly, she hit a Gemini. So watch the base damage. 1. She kills 1 troop. 2,000 units. Killed 1 troop. That is absurd. And that's because he has amazing defense gear. But watch this Tear Space damage. Here comes the Tear Space. He gets a heal. Boom! 272 kills. That has a lot to do with the gear and whatnot, and Tear Space working more like a true strike, ignoring those stats. So you realize, okay, for the super late game players, the best way to defend against Tear Space is not defense and HP. It kind of goes right through it. You have to run the Fearless Pants for that damage reduction. Okay. So that was a big deal. When we start watching this fight all the way through, you realize all the damage is just Tear Space damage, including Rogers. Rogers was just like, I don't even need to hit you hard. I'll just do the Tear Space to you. So even when you took Virgo and Ares on Stella or whatever infantry commander and took away Rogers' damage, he would still crush you with Tier 12 Tear Space. Unless, if you didn't have Tier 12, then Rogers gets crushed. For those of you that don't know, the Rogers meta has really fallen off because of the Ares and Virgo meta, reducing your opponent's damage against Rogers, who typically runs Eternal Barriers. It's so easy because he doesn't run damage. You can zero him out on offensive damage, but he'll still hit you with that Tear Space if he's Tier 12. So anyway, I wish I wouldn't have closed that. Oh well. So that's where these pants come into play. It's pretty much no questions anymore. These are the best in slot. Some people would make an argument for the fabrication pants, but the first thing is stat for stat, they don't have as much HP, right? Yeah, they don't have as much HP. Maybe it's the same. And then their defense can kind of be ignored because the main concern is Vega. And you just really want to avoid relying on defense. So instead of using defense, this item uses damage reduction, which also works on Tear Space. While fabrication only gets the defense And even though it has great stats, doesn't affect that tear space. And what did I say? Tier 12 damage all comes from that tear space. So they're shifting that defense meta into their new items, which is the Fearless Pants and the Infantry Helmet. The Infantry Helmet has total damage reduction. Interesting. Why would infantry have total damage reduction? Well, that's because they're going to start building infantry a lot more tanky. And if you've ever seen Vega versus an infantry commander, it's always him one shot in their entire troop slot. But now we're starting to see infantry commanders avoid all the dodge, avoid all the defense, and just stack HP, and they just take the hits from Vega, which still hurt a lot. But with using the right gear, they're able to nullify a tremendous amount of that damage. So there's a shift going on in the airship and infantry meta. I could talk about that for days. I see it all the time. It's the main meta. But what we want to talk about is this walker meta, right? The natural whisper. How does this come into play? Well, what this is going to start doing is remove your opponent's offensive damage entirely. Now remember, when Vega hits you with that big breakdown, ignoring all your defense and that huge crit, if he doesn't land the crit, his damage doesn't triple and quadruple to your undefended self, but also his crit damage is going to be lowered if he does land the crit. So what that means is that the walkers need to start getting serious about this balance build, this defense build. So here's kind of where we're at. Galileo has always been the tempo commander. He's great early on. Late game, he hasn't been seeing a lot of play, and that's mostly because of how, I would say, petite troops were back when he was around. It was easier to just one-shot his entire slot. But now, with how durable they are, you can really get these things going. Instinct buffs his attack and accuracy to all of his troops, and it just starts ramping up. Now, it does fall off at the end of the turn, so it doesn't get out of control crazy. It's never gonna hit as hard as a Sagittarius Jewel or a Scorpio Jewel, or Leo Jewel or a Vega Breakdown. So that's kind of why it gets kind of ignored. Like, it's good, but it doesn't do, double strike, double trigger, and it's a basic damage ramp and accuracy. And we really don't want to rely on accuracy. We like to rely on the guaranteed hit gems. And then also he has Plunder, which heals himself for the damage he does, like Grievous. He heals himself for the damage he does, which, as a fight goes longer and longer, becomes less and less useful because he loses more troops over time. And it's hard for him to hit hard enough to completely heal his stack back up. But it's an amazing commander in a toe-to-toe fight if it's a fair fight. But unfortunately, he doesn't have a good one-slot bust opportunity because there's no guaranteed hit. He really requires that tempo. He kind of falls into that category of like Blader and Thunder Ray. They're okay. They'll get their licks in, but there's usually better choices by the time you get an S commander. 3 months into the game, there's usually a better choice. So when it comes to the main meta, I kind of always like to mention Hoodoo, but really Hoodoo's a utility commander. Pictor is the better version of Hoodoo. And I think he is going to be kind of the glass cannon-y, but now built glass cannon-y commander, because really the best way to build him is with these Fearless Pants. There are no better pants for him. You might make the argument that, oh, well, Melt, you're forgetting about Magiwell Pants because they have crit damage, and if Pictor is relying off his offensive skills, that extra crit damage is a big deal. Well, you're right. That crit damage is important. And on the sticky bombs and his awakening, remember his we should probably talk about his skills. So he has a 60% chance to trigger. If the target gets hit, then the entire row in front of him gets hit. And it hits hard. It basically blasts him for almost his full damage. So if he would have hit for 100 damage, the other two slots get hit for 90 each. And it can crit. So you can get a lot of value out of those Magiwell Pants. But they have defense. So if you get hit by a Vega or a Leo, they ignore your defense. And they're kind of glass cannon-y because of that. So that extra crit damage, although it seemed useful in that one scenario, which it is, in the long run, if you're going to be playing Pictor in Galactic Battle, you're going to have to march your army full. You're going to have to sit there in a base with more than one troop slot. And when you do, you're going to want to have that tear space protection that Fearless provides, that damage reduction. And it runs HP, not defense. So I think we're kind of getting to the point where, for the late game guys, every best in slot pants is Fearless. dodge just isn't much of a thing anymore. And like even Vega and I say Vega because he runs Awaken 600% dodge sometimes if he wants to be totally immune to commanders who don't have guaranteed hit skill. But I mean, even infantry that are running the dodge the void chess piece, even they're switching over to Shadow because that resistance weaken, that HP is more useful than all that extra dodge you get from this Curious and then also the defense, because these stats are 100% ignored when Vega lands a breakdown. Now, I'm not saying you should go into every fight against Vega with all the best gear to counter Vega and think you're going to do well. You're still going to struggle against Vega. He's that good. But when you do start going to totally gear yourself in danger, in fear of Vega, you are going to make yourself maybe a little more susceptible to other commanders that you might have done better against if you were running more defense. Very aware of that. I know that that's going on. A lot of people are considering that. Vega doesn't land breakdown every time. Sometimes he just lands a Gemini, and if you have good defense gear, he doesn't hit very hard. But the main concern truly is the breakdown, because when it ignores all of your defense, your whole troop stack dies. Otherwise, if you get hit by a Gemini, you might only lose 1 or 2 troops, or 5 or 10%. So it's a lot to contend with. And honestly, at the super late game level, I think a lot of those players know their commanders well. They know their matchups well. I'm trying to shed insight into the up-and-coming players, the existing players, and maybe some of the super high-level players that don't play Walker or aren't as familiar, or maybe they just want to hear someone talk about the game, right? I mean, that's kind of what I provide too, right? I talk about the game. You can't go and talk to your coworker about this, or your neighbor. They don't give a shit about Arc of War. You want to talk to Arc of War with somebody who knows what they're talking about? I'm your guy. But you can also go in the comments below. It's a fireside chat. Take a minute, write a comment, pause the video. See what you're thinking. Tell me what you're thinking. Am I off? Did I miss anything? I feel like I really wanted to tackle this crit wither thing, and I'm still stuck explaining the current gear in the meta right now. So thanks for bearing with me. That's why I like these fireside chat videos. We get to just rant and kind of go off tangent. But hopefully I'm covering good topics. I think so. I'm honestly, it's just important for myself to hear it. And I can't just sit in the mirror and talk to myself, and I can't just sit and think about it all the time. I like to say it. I like to say it out loud. Okay. Now, I think it's pretty well established that Shadow and Fearless are the best in slot. There's another argument to be made for Invincible, but like I said, yeah, you can get a lot of HP out of it, but having that resistance weakened is a big deal. Terror Space does do a ton of damage, and it does ignore Strengthened Weakened, but it's just really good to have. Also, Pictor has this 20% all troops will hit skill. I didn't mention that. Once this triggers, it's like Sonar for Medusa. All of his troops get the buff, and then they can all guarantee a hit, which basically is a guaranteed hit skill as far as I'm concerned for everyone, and it's going to at least trigger once in a round. So it might start off slow. You might miss a few to get going, but Pictor also is going to be relying on Leo for guaranteed hit. And what was the other one I put on for him? I want to say Gemini because of that Terror Space. I don't know offhand, and that's not really the point of this video. But both those would be great choices. Taurus is good; it hits hard, but I think Gemini with that Terror Space double strike is actually better. Okay, so I'll do another video on Pictor later. I'll really dig into him later. He's going to be one of the commander cards, but he's definitely a glass cannon build style commander. But even though he is a glass cannon build style commander, you're still going to want these items, right? You're still going to need them. You're not going to get damage out of the chess piece except for HP, which works on your own Terror Space, which is what this provides. But the sacrifice to get a few more HP from other gear isn't worth it. Maybe you could run Tear Suppression, Black Knight, if you run into smaller troops, but that shouldn't be your concern if you're a high-level player. But then the Fearless Pants, yeah, you can get Maguel. You can. I think there's a good argument for him to use it, but no one else in the Walker class. So, plus, you still want to stand toe-to-toe occasionally. You're still going to send your full army, and you're going to want that survivability because it's huge. It's huge. Okay, so the 2 weapons, easy. The chest piece, legs, we covered it. Now let's talk about Crit Wither. So, a maximum Valkyrie is 100% to HP, right? That's the starting stat. Now remember, Gift of the Valkyrie has a negative attack stat too, which maximum 20%, which gets more negative the higher you raise the skill. So anyway, a Gift of the Valkyrie at level 40 is going to be 400% extra, plus the 100% starting, which is 500% bonus HP. That's a lot of bonus HP. That's a lot of survivability that ignores Vega's breakdown. And that's a lot of damage that adds to tear space. Gift of the Valkyrie is a huge defensive item, but also a huge offensive item if you have breakdown. As I mentioned, it has a negative attack built in. So it does diminish your attack a little bit. But that HP is some serious stats. 500% HP. How much do you get from a Shadow at this level? 75%. How much do you get from a Gift of the Valkyrie at this level? 300%. You're talking magnitudes of 200 and 300% growth on that Valkyrie helm. So it's huge. It's super huge. So you've got to run Gift of the Valkyrie. You're saying to yourself, well, Meld, if it's a glass cannon build, why not go with Devastation? Well, it's not the worst choice, but like I said, if you're a Terra Space commander, you're going to need that survivability against Vega, so you need that HP, but also you need it for your own Terra Space damage. So I think it's pretty cut and dry. Those entry-level elite gear from early on, legendary gear, really don't scale as well as these guys do. It's really noticeable when someone has a Gift of the Valkyrie on. So, let's talk about Crit Wither. This new helmet for walkers. So, you can't see it here, but a level 40 Natural Whisper is 300% HP. A Valkyrie is 500%. By using this item, you lose 200% potential HP. That's a big deal, right? I was just talking about how big 200% is. By using this item, you sacrifice that. And by losing that HP, you also lose tear space damage. But like I said, the Valkyrie does take away your own base attack. However, the trade-off for the Natural Whisper is you lose accuracy. But Pkwy has a guaranteed hit built in to all of his troops, right? He does the sonar buff. So what does he get in exchange for losing accuracy and 200% HP at level 40? He gets... God, how much Crit Wither is that at level 40? I don't know how much Crit Wither he gets at level 40 on the Natural Whisper. So bad Melt. I didn't do the research right. Oh God, I want to say it's 150%. It's about half of the other one. And the other one goes to 300%. So this goes to 150%. We'll call it 150% Crit Wither. That means your opponent's going to have to stack a ton of crit gems, which costs them attack. Straight up, most people aren't putting accuracy, they're putting attack. So they've got to start gemming crit, and it takes off another 150% off that total crit damage, which is what the Magiwell pants were providing at level 20 or so. So that's the idea. You pick up a ton of survivability by making their crits and their crit chances dramatically lower. The penalty is basically null because you get your guaranteed hit from skills. And the HP that you do lose from not having 500% like the Valkyrie may be mitigated because the Valkyrie has a negative attack stat built in. So you don't take much of a damage mitigation loss, or I'm sorry, you don't take much of a damage penalty by using the Natural Whisper. But you take a huge gain in defense because it debuffs your opponent's attack. It's kind of like a weird way of making a commander more tanky in the Walker class without straight up just giving him a skill like Rogers that makes him go immune. So I really like that item. I feel like I kind of glossed over it in my last video. Someone called me out on that. And I really hadn't had the time to think about how to really take advantage of this item, and I think that's what it is start building your Walker commanders like Balance commanders who can still do glass cannon, one slot bust stuff, but they can also stand toe-to-toe and really take the hits. I mean, that's, I think, what's really important in all this is, like, in this replay I showed you earlier with Elf vs. Reinhardt, she could take those hits, but having the damage reduction and the crit with her is really going to add that survivability, and I think that's where Walker needs to go right now. It's more into that balance offense, balance into spell damage, and kind of avoid the glass cannon he builds. Your big fear is Vega. Be able to just take your hits and give them back, because Walker does have great offense. It really does. If you trigger sticky bombs and a Leo and an Awakening, you're going to crush the front row of somebody big time. I've seen, with more delicate troops, Pkwy crushes through. On high level stuff, I haven't yet seen Pkwy go to town. But I know there are some commanders out there, some players out there that are running Pkwy now with tier 12 with this. Well, I don't know if they're doing this setup. I'm sure after this video they're going to try it because I think it's worth it. But I'm working on an ARCs episode with a new player. Hopefully we can get some good replays and show these troops and what they can do. Okay. Whew, Fireside chat videos, man. These things are... Sometimes wonder if I should just delete them and do the cliff notes. Do we like the long videos, guys? If you like the long video, leave me a comment. Tell me what I missed. Tell me you like it. Tell me you hate it. I'm trying to do, I don't know, maybe one fireside chat a month, something like that, when it really warrants it. In this video, I don't really plan it. Like, I was really trying to tackle this Walker thing and these commander cards and what to film tonight. And I was like, I need to just talk about Walker. So it kind of happens organically. Okay. All over the place, boys. All over the place. Now, we've talked about Pictor. We've talked about Crit Wither. I didn't talk about where else you can get Crit Wither. I should probably cover that. I think it's in the Forge. I think it's in Star Jewels. I think it's in... Oh, gosh. What's it called? It's one of the new ones. Capricorn? Is it Capricorn? I think so. Yes. Capricorn lowers the crit of all enemy forces by 100%. And I think that's crit chance and crit damage, like Krylar was saying. I believe that is correct. So in this Star Jewel set, Aries, Capricorn, and what was the other one? Aquarius? I think so, Aquarius, yeah. All the commanders, they all got defensive buffs. Airships got removal of accuracy against your opponent. Walker got Crit Wither, and then infantry got damage reduction, right? The Ares, which was really the shining grace, was like, wow, Ares can really be used to exploit anyone with low defense or low offense gear like Reinhardt and Rogers. But these other two, Capricorn and Aquarius, really never got to be played much. But I think now, if you are going to play Walker, the way you do it is you run the HP gear with the new helmet or the Valkyrie if you didn't get the new helmet. Run the Capricorn set for the Crit Wither. Oh, isn't there like a two-piece Crit Wither somewhere? And then Leo. Leo for that extra guaranteed hit, and it hits really hard. Leo just ignores defense like Vegas Breakdown. It's really powerful. So, oh goodness. You know, the other thing to say is that the Walker gems, the new Walker gems, are so good. What they do is they stop your opponent from debuffing you. The new Walker gems have invulnerability, Tina's skill. And they're only good against commanders that debuff you, right? Which is what a lot of commanders are doing now, right? Infantry is doing Aquarius, Virgo. Oh, not Aquarius, sorry. Virgo, Aries. I don't want to mention commanders that don't be used. Stella uses Dizzy. Not that big of a concern. Walker commanders, Elf. Elf is going to be debuffing you, and if you run this Cassiopeia set, it'll purge Elf's was it spell damage off of you, which is a big deal because that spell damage hits hard. That's really Elf's main bread and butter. I haven't talked about that in a while. I'm probably tackle that at the end of this video. It's not going to be a short one, boys. Okay, all right. So I definitely like where we're going with this. So gem sets. I really think you need to have 3 gem sets. It's got to be Cassiopeia for the survivability if you're going to be playing the tank build. If you're going to be playing Pictor and you really are going to pick your matchups tightly and you don't want the brilliant protection that these Star Jewels provide for the Walker class, then fine. You can skip Cassiopeia and you can just use Leo and Taurus. But that's really the archaic way of playing this game. That's not the way it's meant to be played. Play like a man. Grab the Cassiopeia gems. Grab the Capricorn gems. Is it Capricorn? Man, my mind's not working. It's getting late, boys. Yeah, grab the Capricorn, grab the Cassiopeia, and grab... Oof. You could take Virgo. Virgo would be pretty good. It would delay your opponent's turn. It would lower their attack. But I really like Leo. On Pictor, maybe not so much. Maybe on Elf, not so much. But it does hit hard. It's not a gem to be ignored. But definitely, if you stack Capricorn and Cassiopeia, you are going to be a super tank. I think it's a great build. The 3rd gem set, yeah, go with the Leo or maybe the Virgo. I've got those gems. You want to just go ahead and open them? Should we just open them? Let's see what we get, boys. Remember, max stat is 45. We're trying to get one of each. Not that I play a Walker main, but I'd like to just have one of each. Hopefully some decent stats. And remember, the new gem set takes 5 piece, not 4. 5 piece. Oh, man. Camera's too high up. Oh, well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open all 9 of these. And let's see if we get any luck. And then maybe we'll try re-rolling them, and then We'll talk about Elf. Then we'll wrap this video up. Does that sound good? That sounds good. Okay. Cassiopeia, 37% on the chest. Dodge, nah, not a fan. Not good. 17% accuracy in the weapon. Not good. 20% accuracy in the weapon. Not good. 23% accuracy in the weapon. Not good. But that's a 5. Notice that's a weapon 1 and a weapon 5. Okay, 27% accuracy in the weapon. 32% accuracy in the weapon. 37% accuracy in the jewelry. 44% accuracy in the weapon. That's great for rock, for those ignore tear suppression builds. There we go. 35% in the chest. So I got some pretty butt gems. But I did get a 1, a 2. Is there a 3 in here? No, I didn't get a full set. Oh, I did. I got a full set. So I could go 5-piece Cassiopeia, but there's no point. I'm not trying to purge myself and be a boss commander player right now. I don't have the tier for it, but it's nice to know I have the gems. They're there. Let's try a reroll on them while we're here. Man, I feel like I really covered that Pictor meta, that Pictor chat, because I need to do that video, and I just hadn't put all the thoughts out there. So you guys wonder how I figure this stuff out and how I do it. This is how I do it, except usually the camera's not on. Sometimes it is. Sometimes, but not often. That's how I do it. I talk about it. I negotiate with myself. I try to look at other things, consider it. And I do miss things. I certainly do miss things. Usually not too catastrophically. But if I did miss something, please put it in the comments below. I always ask for these comments. I actually really like them. If you look in the comments below, I respond to them. I get them on notices on my phone. I get them notices when I'm off planet. It's the one thing I can do throughout the day, and is interact with people in the YouTube comments. It's definitely something to do when my troops are busy. And yeah, so interact. Let me know what's up. Hit me up online. Send me pictures. Tell me what's up. Tell me a good story. All right, so let's see. What do I want to do? I want to repurpose. Oh, hello. Getting distracted here. It's under equipment, right? Oh, it's under Reforged. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. Not craft. It's Reforged. No. Star Jewel. There we go. Oh, God. I have to go down so far. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. I got so many Star Jewels. We need to be able to turn these things in. They're taking up my slots. 37, 35. What's my junkiest one? 17% accuracy? All right. Let's junk it. It's not my only 5, right? Okay, perfect. So we're going to bulk repurpose. Don't you start me over from the top. Oh, my God. Got to go all the way back down. Oh, my God. All right. All right. Let's do this, then we'll talk about Elf. Oh, this is... Ooh, wait a minute. That's 20. 20 faction crystals, not 2. Oh, man. I mean, who cares about the 1.2 million electricity and gas? These were 6. Did they always used to be 6? I feel like that might be new. Oh, that's Virgo. Okay, let's see Aquarius. That's more like it. These are 4. I thought those used to only be 2 as well. Let's go back to the junky gems. Come on. Come on. Okay. I thought... Did they raise the price on those? Anyway, the new ones are expensive. They're 5 times more expensive faction crystal-wise. And faction crystals, they're hard to get. Buy one, get one events for those are very rare if they ever come around. No, they didn't come around. But you can get them in the mega slots sometimes. Not right now. Okay, so let's talk about the Walker meta one more time. You know, the Elf meta is straight up like this now, right? It's run the same gear that I'm running on this Pictor, right? You want to do Fearless for survivability and HP, Shadow for resistance weakened and HP. Titans on Elf is kind of a weird choice because you don't really need combat damage to do damage. All of her damage comes from her curse, and then she just needs to survive so she can get that heal off. And the more troops she's missing, the bigger her heal. So I don't know. I don't think that I don't think you need the Titans on her. But at the same time, if you don't run any Titans at all, you're just going to get hit by a Virgo or an Aries and do 0 damage. Your Tear Space is still going to do damage if you land a hit. But I don't know. You know, in cases like this, I kind of leave it up to the super late game player to decide, or maybe mix in a Titan. So if you're running 2 Eternal Barriers, run a Titan, because you want that HP for survivability and Tear Space damage. Because she's doing, if she hits, she's doing Tear Space damage. which can't be ignored by defense or whatever. And then her spell damage is a big part of that as well. She needs to survive, and she needs to get hit or she needs to heal to survive it. So yeah, the double Eternal Barrier has always been kind of a thing for Elf. I mean, 1 Eternal Barrier is definitely important. I don't know about 2. There you go. I'll admit. Use the comments below. Check the comments. If there's a good comment you like, upvote it. Upvote, like it, like it, like it. YouTube, we use likes. Sorry guys, I use a lot of Reddit. Okay, the helmet for Elf definitely needs to be the Crit Wither helm. I mean, I really think that it's kind of obvious now. These HP gear in the head, chest, and legs, and then weapons can be damage or Eternal Barriers. But I think it's pretty obviously figured out now. That's just got to be the way to do it. And then as far as the jewels are concerned, same thing. Capricorn and Cassiopeia get that survivability. Elf that can't be debuffed is really powerful. But that being said, Elf's biggest concerns are still Rogers, are still Vega. With enough HP, she can crush Vegas. I haven't got the replay to prove it, but that's kind of what this video is setting up for. Let's do that. That's our homework for it. That's the Walker Fireside Chat video. Let's get a great video of the new Elf in this kind of gear, hopefully with the right gems we're looking for, right? Maybe the new Walker helm instead of this. And then I think there's Crit Wither on a 2-piece jewel set. If there is, someone put it in the comments below. And then that way I'm not looking like a madman up here trying to figure out where the 2-piece gem set is. I'm going to check one more thing, and then I'm going to say my goodbyes. I want to thank everyone for being here, watching these videos. If you like these videos, or if you've been watching the channel closely, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. I'll be honest, I probably am going to just do whatever I want anyway. Just because I don't want to get stale. I think content creators end up trying to please their audience, and it's like, that's great, but if you want to do this thing every day and enjoy it, you got to do what you want to do. And I think if you're doing something you're passionate about, the result of your work is going to be what people enjoy, not necessarily. Well, the content that is produced from joy is much better than content produced out of agony. So I'd love to hear your feedback, though. I'd like to get a touch on what's going on in the community. But anyway, I can't find this 2-piece. I'm giving up on it. I think it's there somewhere. But that's the Walker Fireside Chat, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, we got to do that Medusa video. Man, we got videos. We got so many videos to do. This is going to be a lot. But at least I feel like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to walkers, because there really is no glass cannon build anymore. And as glass cannon as you can get is still pretty defensive. So yeah, tier space, tier 12. And by the time we finally figure this out, we'll be into the playoffs, and they'll have dropped tier 13, which changes everything. So it's a vicious cycle, boys. It's a vicious cycle. Upvote the video, like the video. I appreciate that. If your guildmates don't know about the channel and you want to expose them to getting them into this game more, without having them commit to watching a guy on YouTube, share the commander cards. If you haven't seen them, ask in the line chats. Check the description of the commander card videos for Season 7. And they're great. They're great, like too long, didn't read versions of what I talk about in these long Commander Season 7 breakdowns. So hopefully you can get those into your guild chat. Get all of your members in Line or Kick or WeChat and dig them into this game. Get them invested in friends and family and community of this type of game. Otherwise, you're going to lose them. So use the resources I provide and the community provides to keep your guild members strong and interacting and grow your own guild, because you're going to get to know these people and you're going to play with them for years and years to come, and you're going to be so thankful that you finally got them on the line one day. Keep working on it. If they keep turning you down, keep trying. That's it. That's Fireside Chat number 10. Oh no, I didn't even look up which Fireside Chat this is. Let's see. It's number 10. Number 10, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? I wanted to do 5,000 subs. Oh well, 5,000 subs was going to be number 10. That's it. It's the Walker Chat anyway. Good night.